guys, oh my Godzilla, back with a very exciting Godzilla figure review. Today we are taking a look at from HIYA Toys, the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Godzilla Evolved figure. Been waiting for this figure a long time. I think it was well worth the wait. This figure is absolutely gorgeous. I love the detail. The articulation is great. And it's really cool to see another amazing entry from HIYA Toys. Without further ado, let's jump right in.
Oh my god!
Jumping back in time to when this figure was in the packaging, we have a great image of the figure here, all of our appropriate logos. I really love the kind of sun. It kind of reminds me of the Egypt fight, not too shabby at all here. I love the pink and yellow kind of continued on around the packaging. A couple more images of the figure, nice image of the spines back at the packaging, and we are good to go. Here we are with our Godzilla Evolved figure from HIYA Toys. Figure's gonna go ahead and stand approximately 6.5 inches in height and gonna be about 11 inches from tail to the end of the nose there. So a pretty standard sizing for the HIYA Toys, maybe slightly smaller, but that is a-okay with me. Guys, let's jump into some detail and paint, starting of course with the bottom of the figure. Again, one of my common complaints about HIYA Toys is that I really just wish that they would do a little bit more to distinguish between the color of the claws and the rest of the figure. I wish they'd darken these up. I think that they just pop so much more if they were like a nice black color as opposed to kind of the continuation of the rest of the color of the figure. But that said, the detail is present and nice throughout the claws. I love that they kind of have the striations going down. That's very cool. Moving up the feet, we do have that very, very good detail that we've come to expect from HIYA Toys. I love the size of these claws. They're really, really nicely sized. Great detail up throughout the figure. And kind of that same vibe we've gotten through from HIYA Toys where it's the main color of the figure, but you can kind of see the lighter colors bleeding through on those cracks. It's really, really cool. Knee looks good. Moving up into the thigh, of course, we do have some more of that fantastic detail. HIYA definitely spares no expense on that. I really love moving up the body. Again, the detail's great. I love these kind of like smaller, almost spines that you have. Really cool. I love just the way his body moves up from the scales into kind of these smaller spines into the gorgeous spines we do have here. One thing that kind of bugs me, I'm not sure if this is exclusive to my copy or not, but the color of the figure goes a little too high up on the spine for me. You see the spine is pretty sizable, but it looks way smaller because the color of his body comes so far up. Even on these middle spines, you can see that is present, kind of comes up. The spine does go all the way down to here, but the pink color starts there. So interesting there. We do have a little pink bleed through on the body. It doesn't show up as well on the camera, but you can see some of that kind of under there. So that's kind of interesting. They did, the elbow spikes are painted and accounted for. That's great. Again, same complaint on the hands that I gave with the toes. I wish those claws were a little bit more defined from the actual hand, but I love the detail that is present on the hand that we have. It's really, really nice. Greatly done. Inside of the hand is also well done. Awesome job. Everything. They didn't miss detail anywhere. Great detail on both sides of the arms. Again, painted and good looking elbow spikes. It could be a little bit bigger, I think, but that's all right. Great looking detail. The spines look fantastic, all the way down from like kind of the Thagomizer type spines on the tail. They're a little bunched together. I wish they were, and I wonder if that is, again, also exclusive to my copy, if they should be a little more spread. But that's okay. They still look great, painted pretty well. Moving up the tail, detail great, spines great. I love kind of all the lines that you do get in the spine. Very good detail, especially on the bigger ones, is really cool. We kind of have some more swirly lines. Really, really great stuff. I love how jagged these are, and they are, while being kind of bendy, if you grab them and move them, poking them straight on, they are pretty spiky and stable, so that's cool. Moving up, I love kind of the subtle, more pink kind of coming throughout here. He's got the brow ridge spines that are pink, all three lines of them above the eyebrows and the top of the head. Very good. Well done, HIYA Toys. The teeth could be a little bit more detail, I think. They are not really individually sculpted. They're just kind of, lined throughout the teeth, but that's okay. Inside of the mouth, take a look at the top of the mouth. Move the tongue out of the way. Yes, the tongue is articulated. You got the top of the Godzilla mouth. Very good. Eyes are very, very small on this figure. There they are. Very small. How's he look? Looking straight on at you. Pretty solid. I like that look a lot. Trying him with the mouth closed now. He looks pretty darn good. The chest and his kind of skinniness is done very well. The detail, again, HIYA definitely does not really miss when it comes to detail. Again, paint, I wouldn't give a perfect score on paint just because I would have that complaint of the claws. And that's the big one, a little bit. And then the spines, that kind of coming up a little too high is another little complaint of mine. But everything else done so well on this HIYA Toys Godzilla Evolved. Before we jump into articulation, I do want to take a look at these other hands that it comes with. We do have kind of the more fist hands. Same deal. Paint, and the detail's great. I wish we had more of a definition on the claws versus the rest of the hand. I'm not going to go ahead and put these on. I think the open hands look a lot better than the kind of balled up fists, but I just wanted to show off that they do in fact exist. Second pair of hands. I would have much rather a breath effect or something, but we get hands. And for the articulation on this figure, we're going to go ahead and get the arms out of the way, starting with the feet again. They do have some rotate, little bit of pointing ability, not too much. They're pretty sturdy in there, and I think obviously with these figures, the more you work them, this figure's fresh out of the box, so the more you work those joints, the looser they get. I'm going to check out the knee. Good bend, decent point. It doesn't come quite straight, but it comes pretty close. The bend is very good on the back though, so that's, and it moves pretty freely, so that's nice. And we don't really have any rotation on the knee. That's kind of one solid joint, so none of it moves up and down that way. But the legs on the thighs, the hips, you can move kind of in and out. And then you can spin. Like, it gets kind of stuck here, not that you'd want to go past that anyways. So you can actually moves a little bit better if you go that way, but it's a little sticky there. But you can go 360 if you really want to force it. I would not recommend going quite that far just to avoid paint scratches and whatnot. Moving at the body, we do have side to side. I'm not going to force it so we don't get a ton out of there. It is interesting, this center spine is individually kind of there, I think, so it doesn't get caught on anything, but it's weird kind of looking at it from the top and seeing that circular joint because that spine is just like an individual piece. But you do get some good, pretty decent bend down at the spine, at the hips, up and down, looks pretty good. The neck has lots of little pieces of articulation, but it's ultimately fairly stiff, and it doesn't move quite, like you get a little bit of gapping on the head, so I don't love that. Not a ton of the up and down. Side to side, it's pretty decent. Could be a lot better. And again, I'm just working this figure lightly. If we heat him up and kind of really go for it, we might be able to get some more. But this is the fresh out of the box look at the figure. Arm is going to go up and down 360. It does come in and out at that swivel on the shoulder as well. Elbows fairly articulate. You get some bend. That's not bad. And these guys are so like they're so auditory with their articulation. Like that always cracks me up a little bit. And the hands do get some in and out, some spin. 360 if you want it. Claws are fairly sharp, so if you're rotating the hands, be careful not to grab that hand too hard on the claw. It might give you a little bit of a poke. Tail, gonna kind of max out, give or take here. You can straighten it down about like this, and side to side is pretty good. And again, you could probably go more if this figure was warmed up and really moved, but that's great articulation. Again, very auditory with the articulation, but fairly posable if you wanted to get him in more of a swimming pose. The legs come out a little bit goofy to wide, and the feet don't go quite flat, but he could kind of, emulate a bit of a swim pose. Not bad there. Getting swimming through the water if you would like, but of course I like to just have my figure standing up. So I think this figure does pretty well. In terms of the mouth, obviously open, closed, and then the tongue does articulate. Push it down to the bottom, reset it with the jaw, and it is back. No, it's not. Normally those stay up there when you reset it with the jaw, but I guess it wants to stick. Okay, we got it. I stuck it away at the top of the mouth, which probably went too. So there's the proof that the tongue does articulate. But normally if you push it back up at the bottom of the jaw, now it stays. So there's the tongue articulation. So pretty solid articulation on the figure. Very well done from HIYA Toys. I know we're already getting a heat ray breath version of this, an atomic version of the Godzilla Evolved, so I'll be interested to see the differences. I'm really hoping a lot of differences in the spines. Maybe they tweak up a couple of things I don't love about this figure. But overall, a great addition to the HIYA Toys line. So this should be the Godzilla pre-evolved figure. He does actually stand a bit taller than our Godzilla Evolved. That's kind of interesting, and obviously so much kind of stockier and beefier. It is interesting seeing them side by side that this figure does kind of have a decent size advantage against him. So that's just something to note that kind of struck me as curious. So it seems like maybe potentially HIYA is kind of scaling down just a bit, or this just happens to be how these two figures size up. It'll be interesting to see how they continue to come out with Godzilla figures, if they kind of start shrinking them, or if this is just kind of more of an anomaly. This is the Godzilla versus Kong figure from HIYA Toys. Kong obviously standing pretty close to height, so Kong should be a little bit smaller, or Godzilla should be a little bit bigger. But overall, this sizing doesn't bug me too much, but there's how those guys are going to be. And the sizing we have all been wondering about, ladies and gentlemen, the HIYA Toys Exquisite Basic Shimo figure. She could stand a bit higher. I think they're a little more eye to eye. So again, I think Shimo is slightly undersized, but it would just be hard and expensive to make this figure that much bigger, because she would just have to be insanely huge. But the sizing, again, does not bug me There's the sizing, kind of looking at them straight on. If you want to kind of line them up at the front. She's definitely a little bit longer than Godzilla, but very cool to see these two figures side by side. This is my first time placing them side by side ever, so it's very cool to see them looking like this together. I don't really collect the SH Monster Arts figures anymore, but here's a recent rendition of Godzilla. So obviously this sizing actually looks pretty good. I like that Godzilla Evolved is actually bigger. I don't think Godzilla Evolved really was supposed to change size much in terms of height, but I think that he should have kind of grown. Maybe he did, I don't know. But I like the sizing. I like that he's kind of powered up, gotten a little bit bigger. I think that's a great size. So there's a SH Monster Arts comparison for you guys as well. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been the HIYA Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla Evolved from Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. Definitely a fan of this figure. I'm glad I ended up picking it up. I think I will continue, obviously, to pick up the HIYA Toys figures. Love collecting them and seeing what kind of stuff they can churn out. I think this is a great figure. Let me know your thoughts on this figure in the comment section below. Do you have one on order? Do you already have yours? Do you like this figure? Are you going to hold off? If so, let me know why. I'm definitely curious to see the reactions to this figure. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you in the next one.